Bridges Mountain Men vs. Blackfoot, Montana Revenge Raid, 1834. Welcome to Native Legends and History Stories, where we bring America's untold tales to life. Join our growing community of history enthusiasts by subscribing to our channel. A single gunshot pierces the Montana night, then silence the kind of silence that follows death. Montana Territory, 1834. The flickering flames of a campfire cast dancing shadows across the faces of Delaware warriors as they meticulously paint their faces with streaks of red and black, war colors that transform men into demons. Their eyes reflect not just the firelight, but a burning desire for vengeance that no darkness can conceal. Each warrior works with practiced precision, their fingers tracing ancient patterns passed down through generations of warriors. Before them, spiraling lines that speak of stealth, jagged streaks that promise death, curves that whisper of swift justice. Nearby 24 mountain men methodically clean their rifles, their movements precise and purposeful. The metallic clicks of ramrods and the soft scraping of cleaning cloths create a deadly symphony of preparation. These are not ordinary frontiersmen, they are the elite of the fur trade, men who have survived countless encounters with both nature's fury and human adversaries. Their weathered faces and calloused hands tell stories of years spent in the wilderness where every day is a battle for survival. Tonight, however, they prepare for a different kind of battle. The air is thick with tension as these hardened frontiersmen ready themselves for what's coming. Though they are not soldiers, each man moves with the discipline of a veteran warrior. Their typical banter and rough humor is absent, replaced by a focused silence that speaks volumes about their intent. They are preparing for war, and their target is none other than the Blackfoot warriors who mere hours ago killed one of their own in a display of brutal dominance. Mr. Howell, a name that now echoes through their minds like a battle cry, lies cold in his grave, hastily dug beneath a towering cottonwood tree. His death was neither quick nor merciful. Earlier that day, while checking beaver traps with a companion along the river's edge, Blackfoot warriors ambushed them from the dense undergrowth. His companion, a young trapper named Thomas, managed to escape by diving into the swift current, but Howell wasn't so fortunate. The Blackfoot warriors, known for their tactical prowess, had positioned themselves perfectly, cutting off all escape routes except the one they deliberately left open. A cruel trap that Howell couldn't navigate. What followed was a display of brutality, designed to send a message to all who would dare trespass on Blackfoot lands. They forced him to endure an agonizing death, in full view of his helpless comrades, who had been drawn to the scene by the initial shots but were too far away to intervene. Howell's screams carried across the prairie, until silence finally claimed him. Each moment of his suffering etched permanently into the memories of those who now prepare for revenge. Now, as Delaware scouts perform their ancient war dance around the central fire, their moccasins beating a rhythm into the earth like a gathering storm, the mountain men huddle in groups of 3 and 4, their whispered plans of revenge mixing with the smoke that rises into the star-filled sky. The Delaware movements grow more intense with each passing minute, a complex sequence of steps and gestures that summon the spirits of war. Their bodies become fluid shadows, their paint-streaked faces appearing and disappearing in the firelight like vengeful spirits. These men know they're about to challenge the mightiest tribe of the northern plains, the Blackfoot, whose very name strikes fear into the hearts of both natives and settlers alike. The Blackfoot earned their name from the Hudson Bay Company traders who first encountered them, crossing fire-blackened prairies, their deerskin leggings stained dark by prairie ash. But it wasn't their name that built their fearsome reputation, it was their unmatched skill in warfare and their absolute dominion over their territory. The Blackfoot ruled these lands with iron resolve, their reputation for ferocity preceding them like thunder before a storm. Their hunting grounds stretch for hundreds of miles across the northern plains, and they patrol these territories with ruthless efficiency. No trespasser escapes their notice, and few survive their wrath. Their warriors are trained from childhood in the arts of combat and survival, making them perhaps the most formidable fighting force in the entire territory. Yet despite the deadly consequences, the tide of fur trappers pushing north grows stronger with each passing season. The promise of rich beaver pelts and the growing demand from eastern markets drives men to take increasingly dangerous risks. Though the Blackfoot once welcomed Lewis and Clark's expedition peacefully, those days of cordial interaction are long gone, replaced by a steady stream of violence. Now the rivers running through their territory carry not just water, but blood. Despite traveling in well-armed groups of dozens, trappers continue to fall prey to Blackfoot raids, their names adding to an ever-growing list of those who paid the ultimate price for daring to enter this forbidden land. The trapping party knows well that by morning, they might be adding their own names to that grim tally. Every man in the trapping party had intimately known the risks they faced in Blackfoot territory. The scattered bones of less fortunate trappers littered these hunting grounds like grim waymarkers, each bleached skeleton a testament to the price of trespassing. Yet the death of Howell had awakened something primal in these hardened men, a thirst for vengeance that transcended their fear of death. Though outsiders might see them as little more than savage outcasts, deserters, fugitives, and social misfits, deemed unfit for the genteel society of eastern cities, these mountain men operated with their strict code of honor and hierarchy. In the untamed wilderness, where a single misstep could mean death by bullet, blade, or nature's cruel hand, leadership was earned through deeds, not declared by birthright or fancy papers. Among these battle-scarred veterans of the frontier stood one man whose mere presence commanded respect without demanding it, Jim Bridger. A name that even now in 1834 echoed through every trading post and tribal camp from St. Louis to the Pacific. Standing 6 feet tall, with shoulders broadened by years of mountain life, his lean, muscular frame moved with the fluid grace of a predator. His face, weathered by 32 harsh winters, bore the marks of countless battles. Yet his eyes retained a spark of mischief that matched his renowned wit. Those who knew him well spoke of a man who could spin yarns that would leave listeners howling with laughter around the campfire one moment, then shift to deadly seriousness the next when danger threatened. His quick humor was matched only by his lightning fast draw and uncanny ability to read both terrain and human nature skills that had kept him alive, while dozens of other seasoned trappers met their end. Born James Felix Bridger on March 17, 1804 in Richmond, Virginia, his early life was marked by hardship. Orphaned at 13, young Jim found himself alone in a world that showed little mercy to the weak. Making his way to St. Louis, he apprenticed himself to a newspaper printer. Though the confined spaces and monotonous work ill-suited his restless spirit, his life changed forever when his eyes fell upon an advertisement that seemed to call directly to his soul. Posted by General William Henry Ashley, it sought 100 enterprising young men to ascend the river Missouri to its source, there to be employed for 1, 2, or 3 years. The 18-year-old Bridger, with nothing but raw courage and an unshakable determination, signed on immediately. He wasn't alone in answering that fateful call. The group that would become known as Ashley's 100 included names that become legendary in their own right. Thomas Fitzpatrick, whose strategic mind would later help forge the Oregon Trail. William Sublette, whose trading empire would reshape the frontier economy. Davy Jackson, whose knowledge of Indian languages proved invaluable. James Clinton, whose maps would guide thousands westward. Hugh Glass, whose survival of a grisly attack would become frontier legend. And Jedediah Smith, whose explorations would open up California. Over the next 14 years, Bridger and his fellow mountain men would chart vast unexplored territories, establish crucial trading routes, and survive encounters that seemed to defy death itself. Bridger's natural talent for geography and his exceptional memory allowed him to create detailed mental maps of territories he'd visited only once. He discovered the Great Salt Lake, initially believing it to be an arm of the Pacific Ocean, due to its salt content. He was the first white man to see the geysers of what would become Yellowstone National Park, though his tales of boiling rivers and stone forests were dismissed as fantasy by Eastern audiences. But among all his adventures and discoveries, it was his encounters with the Blackfoot that left the deepest marks on his psyche. While he respected, and even admired, their warrior culture, he had seen too many friends fall to their arrows and tomahawks. The Blackfoot's tactical brilliance and ferocity in battle had earned them a special place in Bridger's cautious mind. They were the one enemy he truly feared, yet also the one he most yearned to best in combat. Now, as the war party makes its final preparations, Bridger sits astride his horse with the stillness of a mountain lion before the pounce around him. His men move with practiced efficiency, knowing their leader's reputation for avoiding bold speeches or dramatic declarations. They wait for his command with the quiet anticipation of veteran warriors who trust their commander's judgment without question. His instructions, when they come, are characteristically brief but clear. Locate the Blackfoot Camp. Strike without warning, and press the attack until the enemy is driven from the area. The terseness of his words carries more weight than any lengthy oration could. His men understand that this is not merely about revenge, it's about sending a message. Even the mighty Blackfoot are not invulnerable. Like shadows melting into darkness, the war party moves out under the cover of night. The Delaware scouts take point, their moccasined feet finding purchase on terrain that would betray lesser men with a misplaced step or snapped twig. These natives, trained since they could walk in the art of stealth and tracking, move with a grace that even the most experienced mountain men can only marvel at. Their ability to read the land, every bent blade of grass, every disturbed pebble, every broken branch, speaks of generations of hunting and warfare expertise passed down through blood and bone. Behind them, 24 mountain men advance in a loose formation that minimizes their silhouette against the starlit sky. The freezing wind whips across the prairie, carrying with it the promise of dawn still hours away. Each man fights an internal battle between the burning desire for revenge and the need for tactical discipline. Their breath forms small clouds in the frigid air, their fingers tight on their rifle stocks, their eyes constantly scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. After 2 hours of careful advancement through the rolling terrain, the Delaware lead scout raises his hand, a signal that freezes the entire column in place. Ahead, barely visible in the pre-dawn gloom, lies the Blackfoot Camp, but something is wrong. The sentries are already alert, their sharp eyes having caught some minute sign of the approaching force. As the war party watches, the entire Blackfoot Camp springs into action. With practiced efficiency, warriors taking up defensive positions in a dense grove of cottonwood and willow trees that borders a small river. The natural fortress provides the Blackfoot with substantial cover, thick trunks to shield against bullets, low branches to obscure sightlines, and the river at their backs, both protection and an escape route if needed. It's the kind of position that would make any military commander think twice about a frontal assault. Bridger and his fellow mountain men quickly huddled together, their experienced minds already calculating angles of attack, fields of fire, and potential flanking routes. But the Delaware scouts have other ideas. For them, this is not merely a tactical exercise, it is a chance to prove their warrior spirit against one of the most feared tribes of the plains. The complex calculations of the mountain men mean nothing to warriors whose battle doctrine has been forged through centuries of tribal warfare. Without warning, the Delaware warriors unleash their signature war cry, a sound that seems to freeze the very air in their lungs. Then, with tomahawks in one hand and rifles in the other, they charge headlong toward the Blackfoot position. Their attack is so sudden, so ferocious, that it catches even their mountain allies by surprise. The Delaware warriors crash into the thicket like a human thunderbolt, their war cries mixing with the sharp crack of rifles and the meaty thunk of tomahawks finding their marks. The sheer audacity and violence of the Delaware charge creates an illusion that works to their advantage. The Blackfoot, unable to accurately count their attackers, in the chaos and darkness, believe they face a much larger force. The psychological impact is immediate and devastating. Rather than stand and fight against what they perceive as overwhelming odds, the Blackfoot warriors begin a fighting retreat. The scene becomes a chaos of muzzle flashes, war cries, and the sounds of close-quarter combat among the trees. Through gaps in the foliage, the mountain men can see Blackfoot warriors emerging from the far side of the grove, making their way into the river. These proud warriors, known throughout the plains for their fighting prowess, are now reduced to swimming for their lives, holding their precious rifles above the water as they one-handed toward a small island midstream. The tactical situation has transformed. In a matter of minutes, the Blackfoot, who moments ago held a strong defensive position, now find themselves trapped on an exposed island. With minimal cover, the trappers and Delaware scouts, their initial surprise at their allies' impetuous charge now giving way to professional appreciation, begin taking up carefully chosen firing positions. Along the riverbank, the mood among the attackers shifts dramatically.